all nice to me, you know what I mean?
Yeah, you look.
But anyway, yeah, you know, it's for me. This is an alchemical record, you know, because Jay broke a whole bunch of taboos with this record. You know, he musically, you know, sonically, what he's saying. He's evolving into something, you know, even greater than what he's been. And a lot of the conversations I've been having, I'm not hearing, you know. So I was like, well, let me get some great minds together, some people that's, you know, invested and they cultivated they higher selves. And, you know, and also some characters, you know, because all y'all characters, you know, including myself, you know. So I had to get some characters, some bold thinkers, some original thinkers, some creative people, and just kind of, you know, just chop it up and really come from your inner throne on it, you know, come from your higher throne, come from your experience, you know, speaking on, you know, what this record means to you, you know, your own experiences with it and how it affects the culture, you know. I'm just going to start off real quick just on how, you know, who Jay-Z was before this record to me. And if y'all want to, I just kind of pass the mic to each person, you know, and we all can speak our piece. And then, you know, we all can have a round table off of each song, you know, afterwards. But, you know, for me, you know, I was never a huge Jay-Z head. You know, when Jay-Z first came out, I was a Sufi monk. You know, I wasn't trying to be in no hot cars or, you know, or flip no birds. You know, I was trying to, you know, be the Sufi and the Kufi. You know, so I could care less, you know, about what Jay-Z. I could care less about the life. But I've observed, as I told the story with Beyonce, you know, I've observed because I always try to keep an eye on what's going on. And, you know, and I like what the brother's done, you know, but to me, this you know, this is the record, like I said, you know, you need to do this record, you know, and I think too, at his age, you know, he's now stepped into his role as a griot. You know, he's got something to say now. You know, when you're 19, 20, 25, what you got to talk about, really? You know, besides what everybody else is talking about. So, I'm just going to pass the mic to the ladies first. And Afi, if you just want to, you know, kind of share, like, who, you know, how you view Jay-Z pre-Fofo.
Well, pre-Fofo. I was pretty much a, you know, upstate New York where I'm from. It's you know, not quite New York City, so it's like there's more of a freedom there in terms of a lot of people, you know, in New York City or what have you, they were all on Jigga, they were all on Ho, you know, but for myself, I was a straight up pothead, you know, I was a straight up, you know, lover of more of like an underground scene or what have you. I like California music, so for me, it took a while. I've always respected Jay-Z for more so of his hustle and how he was able to translate that hustle into the business that he has now. I was always, you know, kind of forward thinking and excited to see what he would become. But it really took the Black Album and the video montage that he did that came along with it for me to really take pause and see how he works. And that's when I actually fell in love with Jay-Z, the artist, and got to know more of the energy of what Jay-Z put out. You know, it was just absolutely brilliant to watch him work. And then watching him work, it was when I kind of gained more of a respect for him in terms of his craft. And then American Gangster came out. I mean, without American Gangster, the film wouldn't have been, you know, it was like they went hand in hand. So for me, it was that time frame, you know, to say, okay, wait a minute. this guy is something else. This man is something far beyond, far beyond what he used to be, and I'm hyped to see what happens with him next. And then he's just funky. I wish you could see my face. Like he just nasty with it. He's brilliant. He's mastered the art of making hits. Period. So that, and then, the spiritual side of it is something else, but I'm sure we'll have an opportunity to get into that. But yeah, I respect him, man. He's dope.
James Power, 344. Speak on it.
Yeah. So my coming of age really was 1993 to 1996. Like, that was really when I got heavy into hip hop. After dancing in high school, middle school, going into high school, we got into the rap thing. And at that time, it was just New York and LA. So there was like Redman, there was Biggie, there was Pac. You know what I mean? It was really like, I would say, a second golden age, if you will, of hip hop. And then on the West, it was, of course, Pac was doing his thing, but there was also people like Del, a lot of underground artists. And then, of course, Common was coming on the scene at that same time. But, I remember going to walking to the mall. I mean, in the mall, this was literally like 2 miles. I walk, and it's interesting that you brought up Tupac, because I walked to get Strictly for My Niggas the day it came out. Walked to the mall to pick it up. You know what I mean? And so, all of these young upstart MCs were coming on the scene. And so when Reasonable Doubt came out, and it was kind of really a soundtrack to, I'm not going to say a soundtrack to the streets, but Jay-Z always had a way of telling us, like, this is what we all wanted. We all wanted to live this life that was, because Jay was about the money, he was about the cars, he was about the girls, he was about all of that without the violent aspect of it. You know what I mean? We really didn't want the violent aspect of it, even though that was part and parcel to living in the hood and in the age that we came up in as teenagers. And so Jay really spoke in his first album to a lot of what we wanted. And he was such an incredible wordsmith. And as a rapper myself, and many of the rappers at that particular time, we recognized the degree of skill that Jay had. It was right up there with Redman and some of the other people who really had a high level of skill. But it was his freestyle, as we started to get into the internet and we started to discover things. This was early on in the days of Napster and, all of that. He had a freestyle that he did with Big L on one of the radio stations in New York.
Stretch and Bobbito show. Yeah.
Man, when I heard that, because in that song, he actually predicted where his life would take him. He literally painted a picture of where he was going with his rap and with his rap music, and it was almost like he was drawing a vision board for himself on the radio. So that really cemented and made Jay-Z at that particular point one of my favorite MCs. And to end it off, I would just say at that time I was naive, because the album that we're talking about now, at that time there was just as much revolution in the game as there is now. I'm thinking, okay, his second album gonna be, the revolutionary album. It's gonna be the 444. So as naive as I was at that time, I didn't really understand, Jay-Z's plan and his coming to be, which is now, in full fruition, and which we'll of course talk about because he's talking about it on the 444 album.
Yeah, and Big L at that time he did that freestyle was like he was the god in the streets, right?
Oh,
and Jay was just going boom, boom, boom right there with him. Coachella, I know you got something for us, bro. Who was Jay-Z to you pre-444?
Pre-444, you got to go back to Jazzo and the Originators.
Oh, you going way back, brother. Go on, take a step.
I'm old. old. I'm telling my age right now. You know what I'm saying? So, you young
Allah community, take us back, bro.
Like, wait a minute, what?
I'm gonna take y'all back to Bushwick Avenue. I want y'all to gather around for a second. Because when you clearly go back and look at the video of the originators, you know, that's the word. Like, the root word of originators is the origin. You know, and I always have been studying etymology, and he had the jacket, you know what I'm saying, Nubian Nation. He was standing there with the big 3 feet by 2 feet poster of Imam Isa. You know, he was rapping so fast and, you know, studying different languages. And and the hook was Assalamu alaikum, Assalamu alaikum. The hook was Assalamu alaikum. You know what I'm saying? He was wishing peace be upon you from day one. And now when he rolls it back to 444 and say, Alhamdulillah, I told my wife the spiritual shit really works. You feel what I'm saying?
Right.
So for me, he is just that mature person who went out there, sold his wild oats, and progressed through his rhymes as he grew. And but before, you know, but he also, I'm just gonna have to give it to you, like, when that Reasonable Doubt came out, that should have been Blueprint 1, or that was Blueprint 0. You know, that was the stage and set up Blueprint. He had to come out with Blueprint because maybe you weren't in the streets and you weren't selling, you know what I'm saying, and you don't understand when Memphis Bleak said, you know, he said, he's selling weight, I'm selling 8 balls, 16, trying to gravitate to pushing quarters, y'all. But you don't understand that a quarter is 7 grams,
right.
And then you have, and then a 16th is a fourth of 7 grams, and you didn't live that. Then you were like, how could your vernacular be so clear on this? But then it was that relationship that he was building between, I want you to stay free. And so he tells Memphis Bleak, which was to me was the epitome. He was like, yo, here's $1,000. And Memphis Bleak says, a G, I ride with you for free. I want the long-term riches and bitches. Have it all. You know what I'm saying? So that was the key for me. I was always looking for a mentor. Even when I was in the streets, man, I was looking for a mentor. He was like quoting my life. And then, oh, your last name just so happened to be Carter. So now you're a relative of mine. Now you're a relative, and we're living the same thing. And then 22 twos, for me, it was so metaphysical because Hove's birthday and my birthday is exactly 22 weeks apart. The KRS had already prepped me for Jay-Z by saying, you never know a book without knowing the author. So it was like Hove was delivering this book to me. And I was like, who is this author? When is your birthday? What do we have in coincidence? You know, what do we have in common? And we missed each other by a few hours because I was in Greensboro hustling my butt off, and my roommate had a television show, and he interviewed Jay-Z while I was in the projects. Spot TV. You just type in Jay-Z Spot TV. That's my man Skibo, who was my roommate at the time, was interviewing Jay-Z. And I was just like, oh, he's a rapper. I really wasn't super into him, but I was like, yo, he's telling you the same thing that Malachi York is telling you. He's from the Holy Tabernacle Ministries. He's from the Nubian Islamic Hebrews. He's from the school of Milwaukee. He's from the school of right knowledge. And he's just giving it out there. But he had to water it down in order for people to grasp it and for him to capitalize and make a way, because he still was living Elijah Muhammad's prophecy of it takes economics for this nation. So he saw a lot of people who was like doing their thing, but they really weren't bringing no economics. And he took those same principles and then said, you know what? Everybody turned me down. Everybody tried to offer me an upside down deal. And I had this much faith in myself and the Most High that we're going to do this right now through teamwork, make the dream work. So that's who Jay-Z was to me prior to 444. He was that better trip than Maui on the cat. That's what he was to me.
Word up.
No, about before that time for you guys, since you guys might be a little smidgen, older than I am in these earthly years. But back then, I found that he reminded, you could still hear his Biggie influence overall, kind of coming through. Do you guys really think there was weight to that? Or do you think, that was just something that was just kind of thrown out there because folks didn't have anything else to say,
Yeah, I would say that I don't think he was more or less influenced by Biggie, other than the fact that both of them were these kind of really stellar rappers who really it's almost like back in the day we used to have the cipher. And when you went to the cipher and you heard somebody who was just totally incredible, the fact that they were so incredible made you just get on your game, get on your craft, you know what I mean? And so I can see Biggie being from Brooklyn, Jay being from Brooklyn, them being in ciphers, and there's videos on YouTube to show it, that, when he heard these MCs, like even when we go back to the Bobito and Stretch freestyle, when L said a line that Jay-Z was just like, ooh. So, there was that feeling that gets evoked when you hear this guy, coming through this MC. And so I think in that way, Jay-Z was influenced like, yo, I'm going to stay on, on what I'm on, because, this is something, just like they're incredible, I'm incredible. But if you look at Jay-Z's style, and he has a couple of them, then you can kind of see that Jay-Z, kind of stayed in his own lane. And still in that particular time frame where they kind of came of age, it was like, a no-no. You didn't bite another rapper's style. Like, you didn't come out sounding like anybody else. You see what I'm saying? You had to, and if your voice was a little bit the same, you had to kind of come up with something that was totally different to give the people a different kind of offering. You know what I mean? So Das Effects had their thing. DMX had his thing. Biggie had his thing. Jay had his thing. Other people had their own thing. You know what I mean? And even though you could put these particular rap styles into different periods, you'll notice that there's more of a separation in the styles, when you go back, at least back to, like 97 and before. At least that's what I've, my take on it.
Okay.
Anybody else wanna grab that?
I look at Hov as, I think Biggie is kind of responsible for influencing him to slow his rap down a little bit, because Hov was rapping like Timbaland and Busta Rhymes before Busta Rhymes was with Leaders of the New School. See what I'm saying? But I think when he saw Biggie, and Biggie was like, I'm slowing it down a little bit and I'm telling my story, Hov was like, man, let me break it down. I don't have to work as hard. I don't have to write as many lyrics because I'm memorizing all this, these things like this. So I think he started breaking it down a little bit by the influence of Biggie, and I definitely agree with James that when you in the cipher, you picking up certain things, but that accent who you are. Just like when you in a martial arts class, there's a person who's taller than you, and you're picking up things from them, but the taller person is picking up things from you. You're shorter than them, so the shorter person may be able to get up close, while the tall person may be able to keep you off of them. So I think Hov, from numerous battles, not just being in the cycle with Big L and Biggie, but as well as having to contest with DMX, after Biggie. Because when DMX came out, Hov was like, ooh, because rapping has always been about, a certain amount of one-upmanship. Whereas I think that this 444 album, I don't mean to skip too far ahead, but he's not doing as much one-upmanship. He's just letting his longevity say, you know, I'm the one-upmanship. Like in this album, maybe his only jab was, that's just like saying I'm the tallest midget. You know, that goes without saying. You know, and then he just left it alone and went on back into telling stories. So that's kind of how I feel was the influence of those other early rappers to Jay's career.
Yeah. Well, thank you, guys.
Word. And definitely Biggie is a storyteller, you know, because Biggie was like a movie theater with his rhymes. You know, he paint a whole picture, you know. But Hov definitely threw some subliminal jabs on this one for many, you know, food shots, you know, under the table, you know. Let's get on into it. First track, Kill Jay-Z.
Kill Jay-Z. They'll never love you, you'll never be enough. Let's just keep it real, Jay-Z.
Kill Jay-Z. Kill Jay-Z was actually dope to me, and I also thought it was dope that it was the number one, the first track on the album, which is a totally different perspective than having, you know, it being the first single. You know, he's just, like I said, I so represent his mind in the way he thinks. But for me, Kill Jay-Z was him telling his ego to die. The character or the perception of Jay-Z, the young Jay-Z, to kind of go somewhere so that this new and evolved aspect of itself can come forward. And when he said, you know, you can't heal what you never reveal, like for me, that's like I'm putting everything that I was out in the open. You know, all of the things that have been in the media, all the things that, you know, people run from, I'm not doing that so that I can, you know, so that I can keep it moving. So he's like, bye, Jay-Z, you know, and so that's what I thought, that's what I felt about Kill Jay-Z, you know, and the fact that he just like put it out there, like it is what it is, this is what I've done. And I also just feel like in terms of marketing, this whole thing is just absolutely brilliant, you know, to be able to capitalize off of what people's perception of your relationship is, you know, whether it's true or not, you know. I mean, yeah, so Kill Jay-Z, I think was real funky. You know, it was real funky. And I like the fact that he just got that done and over with straight out the gate. Like, I'm a go at me before anybody else goes at me. That's it.
Well, I'm going to take the mic a little bit on that one. Just looking at the lyrics here, you had no father, you had the armor, but you got a daughter, you got to get softer. You know what I mean? Jay-Z, I mean, it's like Jay-Z, I think for all of us, you know, particularly, you know, of our 30s, 40s, you know, he is like the epitome of what, you know, what we aspire to. You know, he's reached the mountaintop, and now he's gonna kill himself. So, I mean, that's some deep self-reflection to get to that level where, you know, you're the one everybody's aspiring to. Everybody in your field is aspiring to what you got, and you're like, no, I need to kill this dude because you know what I mean. This FU attitude ain't natural. You know, and I mean it is. As I was listening to it today, he's like, you know, in a sense, he's talking to his demonium. He's talking to his lower self, like, yo, and he's really reading the record, you know, of his sin. He's like, yo, you did this. You sold drugs to your own family. You did, you know what I'm saying? Die, Jay-Z. Bye, Jay-Z. You know, and it's, you know what I mean, on a spiritual level, I mean, he talk about Solange in here, he talk about Kanye, Kumbaya, he put that real slick up in there. But, you know, it's like a lot of people in their 60s and 70s never get to this point where you really can read the record of your own life and make amends. You know, in Alcoholics Anonymous, that's the ninth step. That's the step most people can never get to. You've got to write down everybody you've offended and make amends with them. you know, and that's you know, that's mastery right there, you know. So to begin the record like this, it you know, it's just not, and it's, you know, and it's not hip hop, because that's what I say, he broke the taboos. Because hip-hop, back from the Sugar Hill Gang, it's like, I got this, I got that, I got 2 cars, I got 4 Rolexes, I got the baddest chick, I got, you know, it's always about what I have. And now Jay's like, okay, I've had all that, I'm going to kill that dude. So it's, you know, he's breaking taboos out the gate, you know, so,
yeah.
And Sufi with the Kufi, die before you die. That's the first level of attainment, you know. And once you're already dead, you can be resurrected. So he killed himself and he resurrected himself in the same song. Amazing. I'm going to pass the mic to the coach. Kill Jay-Z.
When I was in the street, an OG got out of prison and met me, and he asked me what my name was. This was before Khayr, and I told him what my birth name was. He says, man, you can't use that. He was like, you know, somebody will snitch on you. I was like, man, I'm not moving enough work for somebody to snitch on me. He says, well, you know, just the night that I met you, you over at my sister's house, and we chilling, we drinking, we doing whatever. I like your style. I'm gonna call you Jazzy. He said, because you real jazzy with it. I was like, man, that'll never stick. And I went to the pool hall the next day, and he came in, and he just started yelling. He was like, Jazzy, Jazzy. And these old men who were in the pool hall, all the old men hustlers were in there, and they heard him yelling Jazzy. And after he left, I was going to get a soda, and one of the old men said, Jazzy. And I was like, huh? He was like, that's your name, ain't it, boy? And I was like, you know, my daddy said, well, if an old man say something, I was like, well, hey, I was wrong. The name, you know, stuck. And Jazz became a legend. And I had to live up to Jazz being jazzy, Jazz having the best of this, the best dope, the best weed, you know, the best parties, the best car. And then fast forward a whole lot of years, when I started studying Tai Chi and got on the tantric path, we had to go do, before you got to black belt, you had to go and do a nature's quest out at another master's land out in Oklahoma. And I was out there for 9 days at his house, but one day you had to be called what is put out. And you would go out and stay for 24 hours in the middle of 38 acres, no blanket, just a clothes on your back and a blanket. No phone, no pen, no toilet paper, no pillow, no nothing. And the theme for that day was, may I kill you today. And like when I woke up that morning and I was like, oh man, day 4, you know, what's up? What's the theme for the day? He was like, may I kill you today. Now mind you, this was a real assassin. And I was like, man, how do I answer that? He was like, today you're going out, you know? And when I went out, and then the next day I came back, he only spoke to me in the Native American tongue. And he gave me a new name called Asahwa Hapoye, which means crow seeker. And he was like, Jazz is dead now. Jazz is dead. You know what I'm saying? From now on, I will never address you as Jazz, nor the things associated with that. Those things are done, you know? And so for a brief moment, but actually, the name Crow Seeker or Sahwa Hapoye was so sacred to me, I then started introducing myself to people as Khayr, which meant excellence, because I couldn't get past Jazz by myself, because Jazz was such a legend from all the things that he had done. And lately I've been looking at Jim Carrey, and Jim Carrey says that depression comes from people being very tired of being someone they aren't. You know, so when he goes and gets these awards, he's carrying this counterfeit personality, but he's carrying a counterfeit personality trying to be someone at a very meaningless event. And once you look at the entire scope of things, this little short life that we're going to be on Earth, if we don't, you know, bring out our immortal genes, is very meaningless, especially trying to battle someone. I'm saying, he said I drove every V12 engine. You know, I had every V12 engine. I already did all that. And then you realize that it's meaningless. And so I feel that every album has to have a strategy. And for me, I know he's a master numerologist and astrologer. And so he always tells you his music is his psychiatrist. His music is his therapy. And what he's doing is identifying and having a conversation with the man in the mirror. And I would have to reference our other cousin, Lil Wayne. If you go back and pull up Mirror, Mirror with Wayne, he's talking about this man in the mirror. You see what I'm saying? And so, because there's no other conversation there. And what is the ritual that we do? Dark room, mirror, white candle. Who am I? What am I? Where am I coming from? Where am I going? I think that he went through an extensive, I think he went in the booth, cut all the lights off, had a mirror, had about 20 or 30 minutes moment, and then told No ID to hit the beat. And then, you know, and then he just came off the dome with it. Because, like, I got to kill this persona because I'm a father of 3 now. I got different type of goals than I had when I was, you know, when he was dating Mariah Carey, he had different goals than when he was married to Beyonce with 3 children. You feel what I'm saying? No, we seriously are going to be billionaires, for real, for real, for real. The financial projections, look at my team now. I'm not hanging with Old Dirty Bastard and so like that and Dame Dash. I'm hanging with Warren Buffett. So there's certain aspects of me, if I want to get to the next level, I'm going to have to be radically honest. And so to me, I could have named his first song Radically Honest. So that's what he was, you know, that's what he was talking about. Like, man, look at these things that I've done in my life that now I have to, I got to face. Like these are really me. So that was how I took at it. He's always put himself on the couch. You know, he's not going to go, I don't think he trusts anybody to sit down and tell his most intimate thoughts. So he just leaves it on the microphone. And I know Afi, as a poet, you can feel that too. You know what I'm saying? When sometimes you just, nobody can understand you. Sometimes you just got to write it out and write it out. And just write it out and let it ride out. So that's how I feel about that first one. Because he was, you got a knot in your chest. Imagine how a knife hurts. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. Yep. Yeah. That was vicious, man. We could spend a whole show on that song right there. But I'm gonna go ahead and pass the mic and the cipher over to James Killer P Power and see what he got to say about it.
Yeah, when I initially heard the song, I was, you know, it was really shocking to me, to be perfectly honest with you, because, you know, I had to come to a realization that, you know, Jay-Z, he feels, and rightly so, that there's really no competition for him other than himself. You know, it's kind of like that Mayweather thing, you know, with the Mayweather fight. You know, Mayweather really wasn't fighting the guy. He was just proving that I can make money, you know, even retired, I can make money. You know what I mean? And so Jay-Z, in tearing himself down, even though all of the parts were still there, because on the next song he says, sometimes you need your ego. You know what I mean? So, but in tearing himself down, I think he did one of the things that was like the hardest thing for not just a rapper to do, but for anybody to do. To take an introspection. It's easy to take an introspection when you just say, okay, well, you know, I'm going to write down the good things and I'm going to write down the bad things. But to assume this personality of the killer who's out to kill yourself, you see what I'm saying? And then to do it publicly. It's one thing to do it privately, but to do it publicly. And then to make that the first song. So I think he was, to me, trying to get to a place where he could create this very honest piece of work. And the only way that he could do it was, look, I'm going to, you know, go Phoenix on him, and I'm going to burn this thing totally dead to the ground. And then I'm going to rise from the ashes of what I've burned down and create this magnum opus. Because that's what it is. Like, you know, I didn't think that he could create a magnum opus beyond. And I was waiting for it. I was like, oh, Jay-Z's done. I rode off into the sunset for my man. You know what I mean? But then when he came back with this, which is kind of like what any Jay-Z fan has been really waiting for, for him to really go to some of the places that he's really never been. To me, it was just, absolutely incredible. And I'm still, the truth is, I'm still processing it, to be perfectly honest with you.
Yeah,
that's old school.
It's not the Jay I know.
That's old school. That's old school when you had an album and you had to listen to it. Somebody said, "Man, what do you think?" You'd be like, "Son, it's only been a month. We're still listening to it."
Exactly.
Right. That is like, no, you hit the nail on the head. Like, in this generation, this day and age, millennials have passed, Generation Z is here. That is unheard of. There's no such thing as listening to a rap album, a hip hop album for a month. That's just not, and thinking about it. There's nothing to think about. It's just, and you hear the young people say, it's the beat. You know what I mean? I think what makes a song is the background. I'm like, what the hell is that? Like, where are we?
Right.
So anyway, I don't know.
Well, I think too, Jay-Z, he's of the age, because I was talking about this too with some of my musician friends. Where we would grow up, like you said, you walk to get Tupac's record. I remember when I got Fear of a Black Planet, I was holding that cassette like the Quran or something. I was like, yo, this is, these are my heroes. You know what I mean? And it's like, and now, it's an MP3. You don't even pay for it. It's on a streaming service. I remember looking at albums and just, there was no video, there was no YouTube, there was no MTV. You just had your imagination caught fire with the album. And that's something we've been deprived of, especially the young people now. They don't know nothing about. So Jay-Z being of that age, he's really made that kind of. In fact, I think I shared this with you, James, and it was on one of them Rap Radar videos he did. Stevie Wonder called him and told him that this is his songs of the key of life. That this reminded me of songs in the key of life. So when Stevie is telling that to you, you've made a record of that magnitude. It don't get no bigger than that, for real. For real.
But the thing was, and this will be telling, every artist at that time, from that time period, tried to make a classic album. So when Biggie worked with Lil' Kim on Intro in A Minor, you know what I mean? It was like, I kept that tape until God, James, you must get rid of your tape. You know what I mean? Like, it came down from heaven that I had to get rid of that joint, because everybody from that period, like, when they rocked Biggie in the club, it was the first time you heard them rock every song from an album in the club. You see what I'm saying? Like, so there was this desire to give the people something. And as we get into this 444 album, we'll see, like, Jay-Z desired to give people something that was, like, different, albeit in a time where every damn thing is the same. Excuse my French.